Amid the snow-crowned ridges of the Alps, there stands a small yet unyielding nation that chose a path unlike the rest of Europe. The Swiss do not shout about power, they do not parade armies at their borders, they do not chase lands beyond their horizons of stone and ice. Instead, they forged a quiet promise to the world. Wherever political storms may rise, the name Switzerland will be paired with a familiar word, neutrality. But neutrality is not timid silence. Neutrality is a choice, a survival strategy, a collective identity tempered over centuries. Why has Switzerland kept that neutrality for more than 100 years, indeed, for more than 2? The answer lies in the sweat-stained history of mountain people, in a political machinery both intricate and resilient, in a far-sighted diplomatic philosophy, and in a defense posture that sounds paradoxical, yet proves chillingly rational. Look at Switzerland on a map and you see a vast natural shield. The Alpine walls are not mere scenery, they are geopolitical fate. Treacherous passes, valleys cut into segments, towns pressed against sheer rock, together forming a land hard to conquer and just as hard to project power from. Early on, the Swiss understood their strength did not lie in marching far, but in making anyone who brought war to them pay too high a price. The bitter taste of early 16th century battles planted a political instinct. If you want peace, do not become an invitation to great powers. After Europe reset its order in the early 19th century, Switzerland turned that instinct into a system, that choice into a long-running pledge to the continent. History, though, is only the foundation. The real story is how the Swiss built an entire architecture to resist the temptations of power and the tug of conflict. First came a federal mosaic of differences. German-speaking cantons, French-speaking, Italian-speaking, even Romance. Divergent religious traditions, varied forms of local self-rule, fierce local identities, so strong that without a refined craft of compromise, they could hardly walk the same road. Neutrality here is not just foreign policy, it is an internal promise. We will not take sides in our neighbors' quarrels, just as we will not break our common thread over differences at home. When neutrality becomes the way to keep peace inside, it naturally becomes the way to survive outside. To keep that promise, the Swiss fashioned a very particular direct democracy. They vote everywhere on things that seem small, yet bind society together. When citizens hold the ballot that decides great and little choices alike, they become owners of the state, not spectators. A state owned by its citizens tends toward realism and caution. They weigh the gains of carrying the flag far against the costs. They know wars abroad often end with the bill mailed to taxpayers. And they carry that spirit into foreign affairs. Fewer enemies, more friends, fewer binding military commitments, and you sleep better in your quiet valley. Yet Swiss neutrality has never been neutrality with empty hands. There is a crucial idea, armed neutrality. It sounds like a contradiction, but in Switzerland it is pure logic. Neutrality matters only if you can deter anyone who would turn you into a springboard. So they maintain a militia system rooted in universal service, citizens as reservists, trained regularly, equipment at the ready. For decades, many homes even kept a standard issue lager. Mountain tunnels, bunkers beneath meadows, ordinary structures that, if needed, transform into fortresses. You may come for lakes and chocolate, but if you came to attack, you would face a maze of stone and steel prepared in advance. One more revealing point, Switzerland does not sit out of everything. It chooses other battlefields to fight for an order that favors peace. Say Geneva and you think of international humanitarian law, of the Red Cross, of chambers where rules for prisoners of war and the protection of civilians were born. Their neutrality becomes moral authority. A nation that does not teach lessons with bombs has the standing to invite adversaries to the table and seek common ground. The Swiss became trusted mediators, not because they hide interests, but because a common world is the safest world for them. Reputation feeds neutrality, neutrality thickens reputation, a positive circle that endures. Economics is another key. Switzerland profits from stability. Precision watches, pharmaceutical and medical manufacturers, deep tech firms, and a financial system renowned for discipline and discretion. These give Switzerland what many want, a safe harbor in storms. To be a refuge, you must keep your promise of neutrality. To keep neutrality meaningful, you must preserve that economic role. The two bind together, creating a clear strategic interest. Switzerland is rewarded for acting as Europe's anchor of steadiness. When a global company chooses Zurich or Basel, it is not only tax rates or talent, it is the calm political climate. Of course, Europe's history is full of tempests that can scatter plans. Switzerland has been tested many times. When world wars erupted, it sealed borders, mobilized reserves, bargained hard for respect of its airspace and territory. Neutrality then is a sharp art, firm enough to warn that this is no free buffer, soft enough not to provoke. After the wars, as Europe split in two, Switzerland refused to choose sides, yet did not stand outside the flow of ideas and trade. It stayed a bridge, a place to meet without being branded a traitor. Neutrality also faces moral questions. If you stand aside, are you indifferent to evil? If you do not send weapons, are you abandoning the weak to be crushed? There is no perfect answer, and the Swiss know it. They choose tools they trust, humanitarian aid, rooms for talks, carefully calibrated economic measures, and a strict principle against exporting or re-exporting arms into war zones. They understand that any exception becomes a loophole for the next time, and once you step off the center line, it is hard to return. So they argue fiercely at home and settle near the balance between ethics and interest. What gives Swiss neutrality its durability is consistency. It does not live on slogans. It lives in procedures, in law, in school curricula, in political habit. Children grow up knowing their country is different, and that difference must be guarded by daily choices. Civil servants know every contract and accord passes through the lens of neutrality. Journalists and scholars keep a healthy debate, so policy never hardens into dogma. And the people, through referendums, regularly test whether consent still holds. Each vote that renews the course grants neutrality a fresh democratic mandate. Do not forget the wisdom of limits. Switzerland does not join military alliances that impose collective defense, yet it cooperates pragmatically in many fields: intelligence, technology, standards, trade. It does not pose as a moralist in the corner. It works as a skilled craftsperson, partnering when cooperation serves peace, declining when it risks security. By keeping that line, Switzerland can be a friend to many without becoming anyone's instrument. There is another insurance policy for neutrality: geography as a continental choke point. To cross the heart of Europe, you reckon with Swiss tunnels and rails. Their experience with complex infrastructure, high safety standards, and a record of honoring commitments make them a piece of the continental puzzle no one wants to break. You do not tamper with what runs on time. Switzerland turned punctuality into a national creed, and that creed is an invisible rampart for neutrality. To see it up close, picture a foggy morning in Bern. A class of teenagers visits the History Museum, tracing old Confederation maps and ancient battles. They read of lessons carved from laws, of agreements that defined borders, of treaties by which great powers recognized permanent neutrality. Leaving the museum, they pass the parliament, where lawmakers debate defense budgets and industrial policy, yet no one questions the foundation of neutrality. That is deep consensus, rare political capital in a polarized world. The same afternoon, a delegation from two quarreling nations lands in Geneva, preparing for another round of talks in a lakeside hall. They come not for pretty views, but because they trust the table here. Across the country, engineers fine-tune a new medical device destined for export. Each contract they sign is another vote of confidence in the stable, neutral ecosystem that lets their work thrive. The future, of course, will test them again. Warfare tech shifts, supply chains lurch, ethical crises over human rights and migration pound against the wall of principle. Yet if you study how Switzerland has built neutrality as a coordinated ecosystem, you see its power in disciplined flexibility. They adjust tools, update laws, expand technical cooperation when needed, while keeping the axle true. A Swiss watch keeps perfect time not because it stands still, but because dozens of tiny gears adjust around an unchanging center. So it is with neutrality, not a freeze, but a controlled motion around a strategic core. Why has Switzerland kept its neutrality for more than 100 years? Because they turned it into a common good, renewed continually through direct democracy. Because they pair the modesty of a small nation with the resolve of a ready defense. Because they bet big on mediation and on the law of humanity. Because they leverage terrain, infrastructure, and industrial precision, making stability their national product. And above all, because they teach their children that respecting difference is the only way to share a narrow valley, and then carry that lesson to an entire continent. When night falls over the peaks, warm lights glow over stone-paved streets. In cafes by the lake, people talk about the results of a new referendum, a tunnel just opened, a round of international talks next week. No fireworks of power, only the hush of a society that chose stability as pride. Swiss neutrality is not a myth, it is a construction, built of mountains and laws, of discipline and historical memory, of patient balance and difficult agreements. And as long as that construction is tended day by day, Europe and the world will have a place to breathe, a still marker in an age of restless ones.